Well, good morning and welcome. I am Dan Buckshire, and I have the privilege of serving as the city manager for Walnut Creek. And I did want to clarify one thing up front. If you're here to see Hamilton, you're in the wrong theater. So we are here this morning for the swearing in of our new chief, Jamie Knox. And with that, if you would all please rise for the procession of the honor guard and the posting of the colors.
Honor guard! Okay. Whoo! Oh. Whoo! Uniform personnel, raise it!
Okay. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Uniform personnel, order! Honor guard, stand still.
Everybody can please take their seats. Okay, well, good morning again. And before we dive into the ceremony, I do want to acknowledge some of the many folks that we have both here in person, and we do have numerous people watching online as well for this important event here this morning. I want to acknowledge that in person we have Mayor Kevin Wilk, and we have Councilmember Luella Haskew. And online, we also have our Mayor Pro Tem, Matt Francois, and council members Cindy Darling and Cindy Silva. And I would note that a couple of our council members are on vacation, and yet they got up quite early this morning in order to tune in for this, so thank you for being here. In addition, we do have our executive team. Obviously, we have most all of our police department, and we have numerous city staff joining us, so thank you for being here this morning. I also want to acknowledge that we have several former and current chiefs here with us today in person, and I hope I don't miss anybody. I tried to keep track as I was coming in this morning. I wanted to acknowledge that we have retired Walnut Creek Chief and Mrs. Joel Bryden. We have former Walnut Creek Interim Chief and San Ramon Chief Dan Pratt, Pleasant Hill Chief and former Walnut Creek Captain Brian Hill, Hercules Chief William Imboden, Martinez Chief Manjeet Sapal, our Contra Costa County Probation Chief Essa Emmon Kraus, Antioch Chief Tammany Brooks, El Cerrito Chief Paul Keith, Novato Chief Matthew McCaffrey, retired Milpitas Chief Armando Corbett, retired Vallejo Chief Joseph Crines, and retired Roseville Chief Michael Blair. Thank you for being here, and let's give them all a round of applause for their service. And I do want to add, although not on the list, I think we saw the San Pablo Chief here as well, so thank you for making it as well. Okay, so this morning, we are obviously here for the swearing in of Chief Jamie Knox. Today represents the 15th time in the history of Walnut Creek, and we're looking forward to Chief Knox carrying forward our excellence in policing. I'd like to start out with some background information and introduce you to our new chief. Chief Knox's interest in law enforcement began at a young age when he joined the Law Enforcement Explorer program with the Roseville Police Department. Subsequently, Chief Knox officially started his law enforcement career in his hometown of Roseville by working as a dispatcher. Not too long thereafter, Chief Knox accepted a position with the City of Rockland as an officer, which is where he spent most of his career, having served the community for nearly 20 years. In 2015, he accepted a promotion to captain at the City of Novato, and more recently served as captain for the City of San Leandro since 2017. What I can say is that Chief Knox has worked in just about every role imaginable in PD and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to Walnut Creek. In addition to all of his official duties and roles that he's had over the years, Chief Knox has taught multiple classes at various universities, and one of his specialties has been to teach emotional intelligence to law enforcement officers, which he's done for quite some time and is one of the earliest to do so. You know, in hiring Chief Knox, we brought a Renaissance person to Walnut Creek. Chief Knox's interests and hobbies are far-reaching and include barbecuing, which I can only assume he grows more than Costco hamburger patties like the rest of us, and that he is also quite handy as he builds furniture and cabinets, enjoys a lot of home improvement projects, and he recently took up metalworking, which he learned to do himself, which is quite impressive, and I see he has all of his fingers, which is a good thing. So probably most notable for Walnut Creek is that Chief Knox is a Halloween aficionado and is known for building elaborate props and decorations. So I am hereby officially putting Parks and Recreation Department on notice that there is a new sheriff, or in this case, a new chief in town when it comes to our annual Halloween competition, so it's never too early to get started. On a more serious note, when we were searching for a new chief, we knew we would find somebody who met all of the technical requirements, but we were much more focused on who we'd be hiring as a person. In addition to someone with the highest of ethical standards, we wanted someone who would immerse themselves into the community and listen intently, and someone who will connect with our police department and garner their respect. Additionally, we are looking for someone who will work well with our entire city team. That's something we pride ourselves on here in Walnut Creek, is that we are one team. And someone who will generate forward-thinking policies and ideas. Put more simply, we are searching for someone who will lead us into the future of policing. And while the process certainly took longer than I would like, and I think most of us would like, and it was on our end, not on the chief's end, I do believe that Chief Knox will prove to be well worth the wait, and I am extremely pleased to welcome Chief Knox to the city of Walnut Creek. And now I would like to ask Walnut Creek Mayor Kevin Wilk to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Dan. And of course, we know that now the county directive is that any performers on stages still have to wear masks, so I guess that means we're performers here as well. But the chief of police is one of the most visible positions in any city operation, and we all know that. One that is almost always in the spotlight, and one that works best when the chief has a strong connection not only to the women and men who serve with him, but with the community as well. As my fellow council members and I have been able to get to know Chief Knox, he's demonstrated that ability to easily form those connections. Anybody who's met him has realized that. And you can see that in the turnout of the city and police department staff members today, as well as the people from other departments where Jamie has worked, and of course his family and friends from San Leandro who made the trek up here as well. I have no doubt that had we not been under some kind of a COVID restrictions, this entire auditorium would be filled. Those personal bonds are so important here. As we've heard our community tell us what they want and more over the past 2 years in terms of law enforcement and public safety. We heard from the community about the qualities they wanted in our next police chief. And in fact, they were brought in as part of the interview process. And we knew that we wanted someone who could keep and help keep Walnut Creek safe, but also guide us into the next area of community policing. Jamie has worked in several Northern California police departments, but he's shared that Walnut Creek has for years held a special place in his heart as a community where he felt a sense of belonging. He's had a chance to meet city and community leaders, and those relationships will strengthen that sense of inclusivity and belonging for everyone. And I will say that Walnut Creek is the best city in the Bay Area. Or, as mayor, I have to say that, but it's true. And he knows his way around the heat. As Dan had mentioned, he's a Renaissance man. And just 2 years ago, I don't know if everybody knows this, but he was the winner of the 2019 Shetland Road Chili Cook-Off. Now, I don't know where Shetland Road is, but anyone who can make a hot day chili is going to be just fine around here. Police work is more than just responding to 911 calls and enforcing the laws, as so many of the people here can attest to. It's also about enhancing public safety and listening to the needs of our Walnut Creek community. A community resource officer, if you will. We're lucky to have found someone who will do that and more. Chief, welcome to Walnut Creek. I know we will have a community event later this month to give our residents a chance to meet you, but today we will make this all official. I'm going to ask our city manager to return along with our city clerk for the swearing in of Chief Jamie Knox.
Yes, at this point, if we could have Chief Knox, his husband Scott Cole, and our city clerk Susie Martinez for the administration of the oath.
Please raise your hand, right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jamie Knox,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Okay, before we officially affix the badge here, I did want to share a bit of history about the badge, some of which was new to me as well, so it might be to some of you. So the first guardians of the community were knights who wore a shield with a coat of arms. The shield protected the heart, leaving the other hand free to wield the sword. The coat of arms was a symbol of a knight's allegiance to justice and an oath to protect the innocent. Today, the badge is still worn over a heart as a symbol of integrity, honor, protection, and the public's trust. And with that, Scott, if you would do us the honors of pinning our new chief.
You just take the badge.
Yep, that would help.
He looks more nervous than me. morning, everyone, and thank you very much. It's good to be here in Walnut Creek. Today is a great day and a way to memorialize a new beginning for me and for our police department. I have so many people to thank. I have so many people who have helped me get to where I am today. I've stood on many shoulders, and many of those shoulders are in this room today and possibly joining by Zoom. So thank you very much for being here. First, I want to say thank you to City Manager Dan Buckshire for not only giving me this amazing opportunity, but for giving me encouragement and a tremendous amount of support over the last several weeks. I also want to thank Assistant City Manager Terry Kilgore and the rest of the city's executive team for their support and genuine interest in helping me and this police department be successful. I want to thank the Honorable Mayor Kevin Wilk, he's a difficult act to follow. He used to be an actor, if you can look him up on IMDb. But Mayor Wilk was one of the first in the community to reach out to me and welcome me to the city. And the rest of the city council, I want to thank them too. They've each met with me personally, not only to welcome me, but to provide their support. It's very clear to me that our city council value public safety, and they've shown a great deal of respect for the difficult jobs our men and women in law enforcement have. I would like to introduce some of my command staff members who are here today. They all bring different perspectives and ideas to me every day, especially over the last 4 weeks. To say I've been drinking from a fire hose is an understatement. My success, our success, will be largely based on their talents and dedication to this profession. And I'm grateful to every one of them. So as I call your name, please stand and be recognized. Captain Tracy Reese, Administrative Services Division Commander. Captain Andy Brown, Operations Division Commander. Marty Beggs-Casson, Support Services Manager. I don't know if Marty's here, but she might be joining us on Zoom. Holly Connors, Executive Lieutenant. Jeff Slater, Investigations Lieutenant. Bruce Gower, Patrol Lieutenant. And Lieutenant Tony Mangini and Lieutenant Ryan Hibbs could not be here today. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to leave a pile of paperwork on their desk when I get back. I also want to recognize the members of the Walnut Creek Police Chiefs Advisory Board, some of which may be here today or joining us via Zoom. We had our first meeting together last week, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I look forward to working with you. I also want to thank my Executive Assistant, John Havecock, and everyone who helped him pull this thing together so quickly. And also a special thank you to Scott Dennison and all of the staff at the Lesher Arts Center for setting up this incredible venue. I don't know where they got a flag that size. And thank you to our honor guard. You guys look very sharp. So next, and certainly not least, I want to thank my husband Scott, who has pinned my badge on a total of 5 times now, and who has put up with me chasing my career for a very long time. So I promise that Walnut Creek is the last train stop. When I was first looking at becoming a chief, I had many people ask me why I would want to be a chief of police with everything going on in the country. From microaggressions to virtue signaling and cancel culture, why police work? And why now? And why a chief? I would jokingly suggest perhaps I'm just crazy. And then I thought it somewhat fitting when I learned that the original Civic Arts Center building, which was on this very site we're in today, was a repurposed walnut warehouse, affectionately called the Nut House. So yeah, maybe I'm a little crazy, but I'm glad we're all in this nut house together. In all seriousness, we are at a turning point in our justice system, I believe. As police officers, we're listening, we're evolving as professionals, and we're growing as human beings. So why now? Why me and why you? Because if it's not us leading in front of change, it will be others chasing us away with bad ideas and a skewed morality. Many of you here today, like me, believe that not only is this profession a noble calling, it may just be the most noble calling of the 21st century. And our work is just getting started. So the last time that I came to the Lesher Center for the Arts, I was with my husband Scott, and we were here for the All John Williams concert by the California Symphony. Do you remember that? That was here in this very theater. And I'm a huge movie buff, and for those of you that know me, you know that, and for those of you who don't, you'll soon hear me shouting out movie quotes left and right, but I love movies. And I grew up watching many movies that John Williams scored, from Star Wars to E.T. to Superman, the list goes on. Now this didn't come up in my background investigation, but I was so excited to be at this concert that I began filming a portion of it on my phone. And for some reason I thought that this was permitted. So I can't remember if it was during the performance of the Star Wars title theme, or maybe it was the Superman March, but an usher took swift enforcement action and reminded me of the rules. So I acknowledged my error while putting away my phone, and I went back to drinking my glass of wine. That's true, at least the wine was allowed, right? And I did get my picture taken with Darth Vader that night. Anyway, we had such a good time that evening, and it's really great to be back in this building. So I've been here for just over a month, and I've gotten a sense of the spirit of our police department staff. They are incredibly talented, and their spirit is inspiring. It's positive, it's dedicated, they're passionate, and their spirit is unconquerable. These last 18 months have been challenging, to say the least, not just for this police department, but for the entire city. Everyone has felt the strain of the pandemic, the uncertainty of our economy, and the changing landscape surrounding policing in America. All of these things are challenges that we can learn from and grow through. They're all manageable, and Walnut Creek, like many of the other cities who are represented by my colleagues in this room, have been navigating these challenges. The principles of policing will never change. Principles are self-evident, like the laws of physics. They are not based on one person's morality over another's. They're not values we created, rather they are principles, and they are unchanging. Our mission, our principles in policing, are to prevent crime and disorder, honor and maintain the public trust, protect the innocent, and bring offenders to justice. We do all of this while ensuring that our compass points not only north, but true north. These are principles. I was talking about we have some weekend graveyard guys here, right? Where's my weekend graveyard guys? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Okay, so I was talking about the principles of policing to our weekend graveyard team one night, and as all the cops in the room know, it's where the rookies begin their career. We've all been there, and some of us kept signing up for weekend nights to make as much of a difference as we could when it came to policing. And that and weekend nights is where the action is, right? So when I began talking about the principles of policing to this young weekend graveyard team, I decided to use a movie reference. Now, John Williams did not score the music for RoboCop, but the movie did have a lot of other things going for it. What I hadn't banked on is that most of the people in the briefing room had not seen the movie, had not even been born yet when the movie was released, and some were not even born when I began my career in this profession. So needless to say, I spent the next several minutes explaining the plot and convincing some of these young professionals, one of them just 22 years old, Edward Chance, that this was really one of the best cop movies ever made, and that the 1980s was a really cool decade. But the point is, even Hollywood gets it right sometimes. You know, we're all smiling about this today, but I think that movie can often be misinterpreted. The movie was a dystopian cyber satire that is perhaps more relevant today than it was in 1987, aimed less at the sometimes brutal world we live in and more at what causes it. RoboCop had something known as prime directives. There were 3 if you don't count the classified 4th one. No spoilers, because Chancey hasn't seen it yet, right? He still hasn't seen it, okay. It's a demerit. RoboCop's directives were these: serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. They were all principles, undoubtedly researched by the writers of the movie and based on Sir Robert Peel's policing principles. Seems simple enough, right? Now, I'm not suggesting that police are robots, far from it. But by the end of the movie, it was a cyborg who began evolving and navigating ethical dilemmas. Things police officers do every day. I am certain that I'm never going to hear the end of using a RoboCop reference today. Some of you are probably not shocked by that, though. However, half of you in this room are going to watch the movie tonight, I bet. Dystopian cyber satire, what the hell was he talking about? Don't watch the 2014 remake, though, if you want the 1987 version. It's 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's free on YouTube. So if our principles do not change, we must look at the set of values we built as a profession to determine that they're in alignment with our principles. If they're not, we must evolve. But even through evolution, we must understand that we are never without scrutiny. I believe our evolution over the past decade has been accelerated in a good way due to increased transparency and public scrutiny. That being said, the one mistake a cop makes thousands of miles away does not represent the nearly 18,000 different police organizations in this country. So the question is, how do we prevent that one incident from defining who we are, what we represent, and what our mission is? I believe we do this by holding true to our principles, through our evolution of thinking, and investing in relationships with the public we swore to protect. Relationships are built sometimes on one interaction, and relationships can be destroyed just as easily. At any given time, we are one crisis away from having everything we've worked together to build taken away from us, either at the hands of others or by our own doing. I went to a law enforcement leadership seminar hosted by the FBI in Dallas earlier this month, and during an intelligence briefing, we were advised that foreign countries, one in particular, we're investing incredible resources to use social media to divide the public from police, one of the most honored institutions of American society. These foreign actors are still doing this today. And I say this to you not to skirt the responsibility that we have to learn from our mistakes, to learn from our flaws, but so that we also understand that there are always outside forces that will be attempting to damage what we hold most valuable, our community relationships. We cannot let people with ill intent hijack the relationships we've built. But we must also be ever mindful that public trust takes time to earn, time to nurture, and mere moments to tarnish. So my commitment to my staff, our city staff, our residents, all of you, is to invest in relationships with you, to earn your trust, to preserve that trust, to serve your best interest, to respect, to lead, and to be held accountable. Steven Spielberg once said that without the music of John Williams, bikes don't really fly, nor do brooms in Quidditch matches, nor do men in red capes. So as police professionals, as human beings, no, we are not wizards. No, we cannot fly. We don't have Jedi powers. And no, you do not wear red capes. But I'm sure all of you in this room, many, many people think you actually do. You're all heroes, and I'll do my very best to be your John Williams Symphony. And I'm so honored to be here. I look forward to building a great future with you all in Walnut Creek. Thank you very much, and it is my pleasure to invite you just outside of the rotunda to enjoy some refreshments. Thank you.